This video should only be 30 seconds. It's an orange Beetle. Mechanical, soulless, orange. That's it. What's its narrative? Does it even have one? This is a 1973 Volkswagen Super Beetle. That is the actual submodel, Super. Remember that. It'll be on your test later. Let's rewind about 6 years. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. Ouch. I was 14. I started to do some car shopping, as most 14-year-olds do. The only thing I knew about cars is that eventually I wanted a pearl white Audi R8 with a gated 6-speed. Well, that wasn't very helpful considering a budget of $5,000 split between my parents and I. We tested a Civic, a Corolla, Miata, an Audi TT. Naturally, the Civic was too slow, the Corolla was incredibly boring, the Miata was too clapped out, naturally, and the Audi TT was too fast. I still firmly disagree with that last one, but oh well. My dad stumbled upon a blue 1964 Volkswagen Beetle, and I said, what the heck, I've struck out this far, let's try the funny small Nazi car. I was sitting in the back when they were driving it, and instantly I was in love. It was the most mechanical machine I had ever been in. You could feel every movement of the engine, every gear in the gearbox, every wheel movement. It was fantastic. That one we were looking at was unfortunately too rusty. A week later, we stumbled into this 1973 Super Beetle. It was yellow and fantastically ugly. After cleaning the carburetor and doing some brakes, we realized how in over our heads we were. If you poked a screwdriver anywhere, it would go straight through. Before I knew it, we were in a shop in the middle of nowhere learning how to do metal and bodywork. I was definitely the only middle schooler to come into class talking about welding and the joys of sanding Bondo. 3 years later, this was the result. Not bad for our first paint job. On the topic of paint, this paint is called Night Orange. It's a special edition Smart Car Orange. Why, you may ask? I don't have the slightest clue. I went into the store wanting blue. Then I flipped through the book, randomly picked this one out. Well, out of the blue. I mean, look, I was 15. What do you expect? This whole car is one big sporadic life decision. Anyway, it has the factory dual-port engine bored to 1776cc with 90.5 millimeter pistons, a slightly bigger cam. When this was my daily driver, I had a single 34 pick 3 carb and a rebuilt factory distributor. I now run dual MP HPMX 40s, which have way better adjustment. And I am running the factory mechanical fuel pump, which is stupid reliable. I've also somehow gotten away with the factory generator despite having a 10-inch subwoofer and the tendency to roll through neighborhoods at volume 33. These never had an oil filter, so we put this external one on. Using my dad and I's combined 2 brain cells, we mounted the oil filter sideways facing the oil lines, making it not messy at all to do an oil change. This is all mounted to the factory 4-speed manual gearbox, which besides second gear synchros being as existent as my sanity, it has treated me very well. I did upgrade to a stage 1 clutch, which makes it way more snappy and drives better in my opinion. Now, here's that trick question on the test I was talking about. What does the super mean? Well, for sure it means performance, right? Well, yes and no. The suspension on standard Beetles are some variation of torsion bar suspension front and rear. On the Supers, however, it has McPherson struts in the front. That is how we were able to swap the factory suspension from a Karmann Ghia. Karmann Ghias had front disc brakes, which makes life incredibly easy. The rear are still drums that don't self-adjust. We dropped the front to match the rear. Beetles naturally sit high in the front. I guess the idea is you could load up the frunk and it would level out, I guess. The other thing that you get with it being a super is a 2-speed, you heard me, a 2-speed fresh air fan. Now, I wanted BBS wheels on this so bad. I mean, it's the small German car. You have to do it. Unfortunately, when your wheels are 5.5 inches deep, you don't have that many options. These are Impy's GT8s, which are about as light and pretty as you could get for the price. For tires, you really only have 4 options. Um, One's a Corker, the other's a Pirelli. Those are like $300 a tire, not worth it at all. I went with these Vertiston Sprint Classics. They're about the best bang for your buck for tires in this size. They also have very similar tread patterns to the Michelins, in my opinion. Now, this interior is a little different for a Beetle. This is a 73 only dash, and it's very modern for its time. You are able to fully take the dash out. I kind of like a modern dash. I mean, you can't really anymore because car manufacturers hate us, but anyway, it's one solid piece of metal. That's how I was able to get my tack, oil pressure, and air fuel ratio to fit so nicely. We redid the headliner, which was about a weekend worth of pain. We also made sure to put a bunch of sound deadening in the whole car, which was definitely a good idea. I got these seats and dash done by arguably the most talented pothead this side of the Mississippi. It was his idea to do the orange bead on the seats and orange stitching. He just made these side plastics on the seat, I assume, when he was high, because the attention to detail is amazing. Now, I did all the carpet. It's not amazing. There was no attention to detail. And I used a razor and Velcro to handcraft the carpets to fit into place. The final piece to this interior puzzle is the stereo. 6.5-inch speakers in the front, followed by 6x9s in the rear. The true coupe de gras lies behind the back seat. As mentioned before, there is a 10-inch subwoofer back there. I used an amplifier from a motorcycle to somehow miraculously make this thing work at full volume. Nothing makes me smile more than rolling through a residential neighborhood in a very innocent car and then blasting 50 Cent. The look on every Karen's face when I ruin their rose-tinted view of the classic Volkswagen Beetle as I roll by is pure euphoria. So, this car is fun to drive, it's pretty, and it irritates complacent middle-class neighborhoods. So, does that mean it can break the German curse of being a fantastically engineered car with no soul? I think in some respects, it does. You have to truly drive this car to understand what I'm talking about. It's so mechanically raw, and it feels like it talks to you directly when you're driving. It has a sense of purpose and a type of connection with a machine you can't achieve with any other car. Would I recommend you buy one? Well, it's hard to say. I was lucky to have a dad and his friend who knew how to work on cars. Even with that, I sacrificed a lot. Not just money, but precious time. The last year of middle school and the first 2 years of high school, every single weekend was taken by this car. I basically never hung out with my friends, at least not consistently. A lot of memories from my teenage years are just me working away at this car. Would I trade this car for those memories to be of my friends and not the car? Absolutely not. Friends come and go, and the real ones stick around, as they say. A work of passion that you're proud of is priceless. That's better than fake friends who would have been gone by college anyway. Memories are temporary, fleeting, coated in nostalgia. We forget that in our day-to-day lives. But a legacy, a work of art, passion, that lasts forever. Eventually, the slow and painful and inevitable march of time will consume all memories I hold so closely. Eventually, nature will reclaim everything materialistic that I know and cherish. Eventually, these videos and pictures are all that will remain of what I have driven and what I have accomplished in my slow march to the end. That lasts forever. So if you ever have the chance to surpass your own mortality, do it. I don't care if it's a car, a book, a painting, a poem, something, anything you are passionate about. I wouldn't change those 3 years for anything. That's this car's narrative. This is my work of passion that I can say, unlike everything else in my meaningless march of life, I am proud of what I have done and what I have built. And you should feel the same about your work of passion.
I keep asking questions I know you won't like. I'll bother myself until I go on strike from my own mind, and I don't like to hike, so I'll crank up my tunes and I'll take the turnpike. So I'm driving, I'm vibing, clearing my head. I drive myself crazy when I lay in bed, and I know I'm driving you away, and that's what I get. So I'm driving, vibing,